In the alien universe, the engineers, or also called pilot space jockeys or the Malakak, are an ancient and mysterious race whose true origins are lost to time. They are known for traveling the stars, terraforming worlds and seeding them with the building blocks of life, earning reverence as gods from the species they cultivate. Physically, the engineers are pale-skinned humanoids with very less to no body hair, with prominent facial bone structure, fully black eyes in some, and they possess some of the most advanced technology in the galaxy, particularly in the field of genetic engineering, and they are credited with creating humanity. While some engineers may have reached heights of 4.5 meters or 15 feet, most appear to average around 2.7 meters, with physiques similar to muscular humans. However, there are noticeable differences amongst their own kind as well, and based on alien lore and the evidence from both films and extended material, especially from the prologue movies, the engineers may be divided into 3 distinct types, or might possess 3 different races. Let's get to them. Number 1. The Sacrificial and the LV223 engineers. These are the first ones we bump into in the prequel movies. These resemble very closely to us humans, and they are seen standing around 9 to 10 feet tall. They have very smooth pale skin, kinda like polished ivory with no hair, and their eyes are completely black, as both their irises and their sclera are black, which makes them look demonic as well. These types of engineers seem to be the purest form and the most original. They might be possibly bred or selected for special purposes or to travel in space and function in the hostile nature of the void as well as strange planets. Their main role appears to be carrying out important rituals like to seed life on other planets like Earth, and also to carry out extinction level events, and maybe even war as seen with the later engineer that was awakened in the same movie. They wear biomechanical suits that not only protect them but also make their already powerful bodies even more impressive. These engineers can also easily overpower normal predators as seen in the comics. Number 2. The Planet 4 engineers. These ones were shown in Alien Covenant. They look and live very differently from the ones we saw in Prometheus, and may be a separate race or subtype. They still have that pale skin, but it's less smooth and more roughly textured, giving them a more human-like appearance, one that we can relate to. Unlike the fully black eyes of the LV223 type, these ones here have visible pupils with a white sclera, which makes them seem more approachable and less alien in appearance. Their heights and body also vary a lot, with some being smaller and less muscular than the towering sacrificial types. Instead of wearing advanced biomechanical suits, these ones here dress in simple robes, suggesting a less militarized or a less scientific role. And their city on Planet 4 is made of stone-like structures with an ancient and almost Greco-Roman feel, which makes us think that they may be an older or a more cell branch of the engineer society. They may have once been connected to the more advanced parts of their civilization, but were left behind, or they chose to live in isolation, possibly for cultural, religious or political reasons. Then the third race are the original Space Jockey. This one is that massive pilot seen fossilized in the derelict ship from the movie Alien of 1979. So for a few years now, fans have speculated that it was an entirely separate alien race, but Ridley Scott later clarified that it is in fact an engineer encased in an elaborate biomechanical flight suit. This suit appears to be grown or fused to the wearer, giving it an organic mechanical appearance, a biomechanical look, with a ribbed exoskeletal plating and a trunk-like breathing apparatus that integrates seamlessly into the pilot's chair. This space jockey is far larger and more imposing than either the Sacrificial or the Planet 4 engineers, which suggests that it could be a specialized caste heavily augmented for very long duration deep space navigation, for hazardous planetary explorations, or the transport or the containment of dangerous bioweapons such as the Xenomorph eggs. This reinforces the idea that the engineer civilization may have been highly stratified, with different physical forms, technologies, and even different cultural functions tailored to each one of them in a vast, possibly ancient hierarchy that is incomprehensible to humans. Now those are the 3 races or types of engineers. Now let's go to their created species, some of them which share a close genetic link with the engineers themselves. So the first of course are us humans. In the Alien prequel movie, the engineers are seen to create humans through a process that began about 3.2 billion years ago, when the sacrificial engineer drank a black mutagenic liquid that broke down his body into basic genetic material, and then as he died, his DNA dispersed into Earth's waters, mixing with the planet's environment to form the foundations for life. So over billions of years, this life evolved, which eventually ended up producing early hominids. Then the engineers are implied to have visited Earth again in humanity's prehistory, probably subtly guiding our evolution and maybe even possibly through more genetic manipulation in order to shape us into the human species we know today. In one scene from the movie Prometheus, we see the engineer's sample DNA being compared to our own human DNA, and this ended up being a full and complete match, which only means one thing, that we are just different to them in the subspecies level, or even just by the race level, which when speaking in biological terms, we are way closer to them than chimps or even bonobos. The second species are the Arcturians. These are a humanoid alien species very much similar to humans and were native to the planet called Arcturus. They were the first sentient extraterrestrials encountered by humanity. Visually, the Arcturians resemble humans almost exactly, with only a few subtle differences, like their skin being pale and almost translucent, their noses being smaller and their eyes larger and darker, and their hair is uniformly dark. Arcturians also display very minimal physical differences between the sexes and are strangely gender liquid, as in they are able to adapt roles depending on communal needs. This lack of sexual dimorphism leads to the now infamous joke by Private Frost aboard the USS Silico that it doesn't matter when it's Arcturian, baby, if you remember from the second Alien movie, which might also mean that they are so close in genetics to humanity that at least coitus was feasible. It was later revealed that in their mythology, it tells of repeated visits from the Star Teachers, ancient beings that they believe one day will return back. Archaeological study of these Star Teacher artifacts reveal design that is nearly identical to that of known engineer relics from Earth's history, thereby meaning that the Arcturians may be another created race or species of the engineers, which would explain humanity's close genetic ties with them, despite being light years apart. Now the third species are called the Fulfman. These are also called the Perfected, and these were a genetically engineered humanoid race created by the alien engineers and were conceived as part of the engineers' relentless pursuit of an ideal life form, where the Perfected was shaped and evolved using the dangerous mutagenic black goo pathogen. Their purpose was really actually tied to the engineers' ambition to create the legendary organism known as the Destroying Angels, which were later revealed to be the Xenomorphs. So anyway, the Perfected, or the Fulfman, and alongside other creations such as humanity and the Arcturians, were examples of lesser offspring humanoid species that reflected or were similar to the engineer's morphology, which only means that we are derived from engineered DNA and maybe are related to the other species as well. However, the Fulfman's perfection was rooted in one of their aggressive compulsions, which was this instinct coded by their creators themselves to spread protohives across the galaxy, and thereby seeding worlds with proto-xenomorphs. This mission eventually turned against their makers as the Fulfman declared that all life should be perfected according to their own design, and thus they unleashed their own proto-xenomorphs on the engineered worlds, sparking a devastating war where the engineers responded with destroying countless worlds in an effort to exterminate both the xenomorphs and these perfected. And by the war's end, both sides were nearly annihilated. A few Fulfman went into deep hibernation, while the surviving engineers abandoned known space or exited the galaxy by using a massive gateway device called the Lich Gate, condemning the perfected and the entire galaxy to their ungrateful children. So heading over to the next one, here we have the Protohumans. So these were amongst the countless genetic experiments conducted by these ancient engineers. These were called the Protohumans and might have been an example of their trial and error approach to creation. One such specimen was preserved in the Gallery of the Ages, which was an immense archive within an engineer's city on the distant world of Aljana located in the far Spinwood colonies. This gallery was less a museum and more of a vault of memory, displaying the engineer's successes and failures across billions of years of biological manipulation. Physically, the protohuman had an unsettling familiarity with us humans. They were humanoid in form, with proportions similar to humans and other seeded species as well, yet they were subtly wrong in certain ways. Anyway, heading over to the next one, here we have the Ancient Citizen. So deep beneath the planet called Leith in the storyline of Alien's Dark Descent lies a strange biomechanical city known as Xeno City, a place where researchers and later colonial marines found the remnants of a long-dead alien race called the Ancient Citizens. These beings are all dead, and they existed for so long ago in the past that no one knows where they came from, what they did, or why they disappeared. They seem to be a part of the city itself, with their bodies being fused to its walls and to their machinery. As of the city, and its people were one living organism. Their skeletons show that they were somewhat humanoid in form, with long heads, big pelvis bones, thin stretched out arms, but with no apparent legs. They also had no real jaws, but instead a large tube running across their chest into their mouths, possibly to feed them or to keep them alive, or to make them look like the engineers. So in the year 2198, colonial marines went into the ruins of the city to find a character called Cassandra Harper, who had gone missing. There they found many fossilized remains of the ancient citizens who were fused into the city walls. It was also there that they encountered the Titan Xenomorph, which was a large specimen of a xenomorph that had no legs. And this legless condition actually solidifies that these ancient citizens also had no legs. And this is due to the fact that the xenomorph morphology is somewhat of a reflection of its host's morphology in a way. If you had legs, the xenomorph will have legs. If you don't, then it doesn't. So according to their designer, these ancient citizens were actually meant to show something that was both grand and powerful, yet still trapped in servitude to an even more ancient and more powerful alien society, which is quite possibly the engineers. The 6 species here are the tetrabrachial humanoids. These were encountered in the world designated as UE753. Here the species are called the tetrabrachial humanoids, and these were presumably also created by the engineers. They possess 4 muscular arms, with each ending in 3 fingered hands, and they possess a reddish skin that resembles the terrain of their homeworld. Though they were physically formidable, their civilization are still in the Bronze Age level of development, and their culture is deeply rooted in tribalism. Then, in their stone chambers and caves, it was shown that there were many images that were strikingly similar to the prehistoric art discovered by Dr. Elizabeth Shaw on the Isle of Skye and elsewhere on Earth. This strange parallel suggests that they have a shared origin, which means only one thing: that the engineers might have also seeded life upon the planet of UE753, just as they may have done to humanity's homeworld. These images were seen in the year 2107 when Ahab, the legendary Yautja hunter, discovered these drawings of the engineers after hunting the tetrabrachial humanoids, and from that point on, the great hunter swore to seek out and claim an engineer as the ultimate trophy. And then number 7, the Xenomorphs. Then here the most controversial one are the Xenomorph XX121 species. So the question of whether the engineers actually created them or found them and propagated them as a bioweapon really has no single definitive answer, as the lore changes depending on the source. In Prometheus, the engineers are shown experimenting with the mutagenic black liquid known as the black goo, a pathogen capable of rewriting DNA and producing terrifying parasitic life forms. These experiments seem to result in creatures that share features with the classic xenomorph, and the film's ending shows the birth of a deacon, which is similar but still very different from the perfected life form. In Alien Covenant, it was David the android who perfected their form, but in older comics, novels and games, however, the Xenomorphs are often portrayed as an ancient species that the engineers either discovered or bred them as bioweapons. So maybe for one of the origin stories, amongst the many, the engineers might have partly been a created species or at least propagated the deadly aliens. And with that we end this video. Now those are all the races of the engineers or types of engineers, as well as the species they are credited with creating in the Alien franchise or the universe. Now if you like this video, then check this other one too, the one in the end screen. Also press that like button for support. Consider subscribing for more content as well, content like this one. And also hype the video to push it to other viewers, as this is a new fun way to show support to us and also other content creators. Anyway, till the next time, take care fam.